For those of you who are new to Konsoll, I'm Yngvill. And as Gabrielle just said, I run a studio called Henchman and Goon. Last year we launched a game called Pod, and right now we're knee-deep in a very exciting new project that I'm very, very happy to be working on, but I'm not going to talk about any of our projects today. Today I want to talk about something I've been thinking about a bit through the past 20 years as an independent entrepreneur. First of all, I consider myself a very, very lucky person. I've had the immense privilege of experiencing absolute creative freedom through my career, and I can honestly say that I don't think there is any greater pleasure in the world than seeing something that may have started as nothing but a feeling inside of you become a real and tangible thing that can be enjoyed by other people. And I don't think there's any greater honor for an artist than people spending their precious time immersing themselves in your work. However, running your own business is a daunting endeavor, and I must admit that at times I've been pulling my hair out asking myself, why? Why would I do this to myself? The stress, the grief, the never-ending grind. But when the day is over and the crisis averted, the rewards of pulling all your energy into building a space where your dreams and ideas can roam free is nothing like anything I've ever experienced. We push through the hard times because that carrot at the end is the biggest, juiciest, sweetest carrot in existence. Some of you here know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you may be planning on setting out on your own adventure. Some of you may not know exactly what it is you want to do, but I'm pretty sure independence is something everyone has dreamt of in some form or another. I'm not very fond of that word, independence. It's taken me some time to grasp why exactly, but I think I figured it out, and I want to see if I can't make some sense out of it here today. And I'm going to start by telling you my story. I was born into a family of artists, painters, designers, musicians, writers, and actors. I watched my grandfather paint. I watched from behind the sets in my great-aunt's theater while the actors rehearsed the plays. And I sat in on rehearsals and sound tests with my father's band. This world, the creative world, was more real to me than the world of regular working hours and employment contracts and business and money. So when I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said princess, because I actually thought that was a choice I had. I didn't see that the magical world of the theater wasn't the same as outside the stage doors. I didn't see the difference between my grandfather and the old masters who changed the world, or between my father and the famous musicians whose music videos were played on MTV. And I didn't see a difference between myself and the characters in my beloved fairy tales. It was a hard blow, and I remember it very well, when my mother sat me down and gently explained that I most likely wouldn't become a princess. Luckily, the grief didn't last long, because I lived among people who were making beauty and wonder out of nothing, or sometimes beauty and wonder out of pain and sorrow. And to me, that became the ultimate goal: put something beautiful into the world. For as long as I can remember, I've been painting and drawing to express myself and to deal with difficult emotions and situations, like not being able to become a princess. Art is relief, and it can help make sense of difficult things. This is the oldest painting I have that I did. I was 2, and I was afraid of fireworks. Art has always helped me, and I wanted to make others feel good by creating beautiful paintings with wonderful stories in them. And no one could tell me otherwise, and no one did. Because I was lucky enough to have been born into a family who saw and understood the value of art. However, this was not something anyone could do for me, so I had to learn to believe in myself and to work hard for what I wanted. And I worked hard, and my hard work paid off. I was commended for my talent and determination. My confidence grew, and there was nothing holding me back. Eventually, I enrolled in a high school of arts. I did very well. My teachers thought I had a future in this, and they told me the route to go after high school was to the local art college, then the art academy, and then I would be a finished artist who could exhibit in the big galleries. My path was clear ahead of me, or so I thought. I graduated high school, top of my class. I applied for the local art college, and I was invited for a test exam and an interview. And they destroyed me. My view of the world, beauty, stories, and the teachings of the old masters wasn't compatible with theirs. It's not exactly modern art, they said. This was the first time in my life that I experienced not being good enough when it came to my chosen profession, to my art. I'd worked my whole life for this, or so I felt, and suddenly someone sat there and told me I wasn't good enough. And I got this flashback to when my mother told me I couldn't be a princess. But this time I didn't let it go, because I'd gotten myself this far. I sure as hell wasn't going to stop just because someone told me I wasn't good enough. They did actually offer me a spot later, but by then I'd already decided that I was going to be my own boss. I was going to make my own fortune. I wouldn't owe anything to anyone, and I would do exactly what I wanted. I was a strong and independent woman. And so I started my independent adventure out of spite. Just for the record, stubbornness can be a very handy quality sometimes. Starting then, I worked so hard. I cleaned offices, waited tables, and did whatever else I could do to support myself. And when I was done working, I went to my studio to paint. I often worked through the night or slept in my studio and went straight back to work again in the morning. I reached out to other artists to learn, artists I admired and who I knew were in possession of the knowledge that I wanted. Many of them were happy to take me under their wing, and I slowly learned about this world I'd chosen to be part of. I exhibited my work wherever I could, and I sold some here and there. My friends started noticing what I was doing, and they looked at me in awe and told me how lucky I was, how I was living the dream, doing what I wanted, what I loved. They told me that they admired my strength and independence, and they admired that I never let anything dissuade me from my goals. But all I felt was exhausted and kind of lonely. And that was the first time I started thinking about what independence really means. Fast forward a bit, and I had finally concluded that I didn't want to be an independent artist. I wanted to be part of a team. So I went back to school and got my MA of concept art for games and animation. Halfway through my studies, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get a job here in Bergen, and I started getting angry again. I didn't want to move to be able to work. I didn't want to be a freelancer. That would practically just have been going backwards to what I've been doing all these years. And I kind of didn't want to spend all my time working on other people's projects either. I wanted an employment, I wanted a team, and I wanted creative freedom. Yeah, I've never been dependent or selfish at all. I tried finding a better word for it, but that's, yeah. So I started talking to some of the other students, and by now the indie wave had just gotten a foothold, so we decided we were going to be our own bosses. We were going to make our own fortune. We wouldn't owe anything to anyone. We would do exactly what we wanted, and we would be a strong and independent studio. Starting then, we worked so hard, took any commissions we got, and worked on the side to support ourselves. Any free time we had, we spent working on our projects, booking meetings, and writing applications, anything we could do to keep things running. We released one game and then another, and suddenly people around us start noticing what we're doing. They tell us how they admire us for having the guts to bet everything on our dreams, and how lucky we are to work with what we love. How amazing it must feel to be independent, to do our own thing, and to have made it. And once again, I've started thinking about what independence really means, because every time people use the word to describe me or what I'm doing, it just doesn't sit right. And I think I realized that I feel this way because none of the things I've achieved in my life ever have anything to do with independence, at least not in the sense that people usually use the word. My achievements have everything to do with me being able to depend on the people around me. I depended on my family to show me a world where an overactive imagination is a talent, where drawing and painting are valuable skills, and where emotions are a commodity. And I depended on them to build my confidence to the point that when I was told I couldn't follow my dream, I had the resolve and belief in myself to set out and do it anyway. Without that, and a bit of stubbornness, my adventure would have stopped when I was told I wasn't good enough to go to art college. I've depended on teachers, mentors, friends, employers, employees, partners, organizations, investors, the system, and I'm depending on a lot of people I don't know to give me their hard-earned money in exchange for my art and my stories. The definition of independence is the ability to live your life without being helped or influenced by other people. I don't know if that's possible, and it's definitely not what I'm doing. That said, we do of course distinguish between personal and professional independence. When talking about business, independence often indicates a certain level of autonomy, which sounds really great. You get to make all the decisions, you get to be your own boss, but most importantly, it means you're responsible for everything. You're responsible for getting the work done, for gathering the funds, and you have to take responsibility when things go wrong, which is the most important one. In my case, it means going to the fish market to ask for free scraps so you can eat, because I had to pay for studio space and art supplies. It means you sleep on the floor of a freezing cold studio because gallery deadlines don't move. It means working through weekends to make sure that those 3 or 5 or 10 people you're responsible for have some security. It means you're the one who has to tell people that you don't know when you're going to be able to pay them. It doesn't matter if it's not your fault. It's your responsibility. It's true that no one has forced me to do this, to live my life this way. It's been my own decision all the way, but it's not usually what we think of when we talk about independence, and is not what people mean when they say they envy our independent lifestyle. It occurs to me that we seem to have created this idea that independence is the pinnacle of success. If you've done something and you didn't need anyone else to do it, your success somehow means more. You've proven yourself, and no one can ever tell you what to do ever again. And I think that's an expectation that destroys people. I don't like the word independence because it holds an expectation that is near impossible to achieve. In my experience, the only thing that happens to people who try to do everything themselves is that they burn out. They end up exhausted, depressed, and lonely. And usually, the people we commend for having done something extraordinary by themselves, they do depend on family, friends, investors, publishers, the list goes on, to provide them the freedom they need in order to be extraordinary. In other words, independence, both personal and professional, is hard. One of the definitions of the word bitch is something that is extremely difficult, objectionable, or unpleasant. Well, living your life without the help or influence of other people is extremely difficult, objectionable, unpleasant thing to do. So independence is a bitch. Okay, so why do we do this independence thing if it's so hard? That's easy. We do it because we have ideas living in our heads, ideas that grow until there's no room for anything else, and we need to release them into the world. We do it because we have the need to build and to create, and we do it for creative freedom. The definition of freedom is the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action. I've heard so many people talk about their fear of partnerships. They're so scared of losing control or giving up their dream of independence that they seem to rather want to give up a hand and a foot than open up to the possibility of taking on partners. And in this world of indie development and self-publishing, it's easy to stay on that path of fear and distrust. And we inadvertently wing-clip ourselves because we think asking for help will take away our freedom. What we really need are strong connections. In business as in life, we cannot exist without meaningful relationships, without love. We need people who believe in us and who believe in what we're trying to accomplish. And let's face it, we need people who believe in us so hard that they're willing to lose rather big amounts of money just in order to see us follow our dreams. Someone once gave me some advice that really resonated with me. And they said, if you find someone who is willing to put up with your crap, marry the hell out of them. And I say that goes for business as well. If you find someone who's willing to put up with your crap to see you reach your goals, make them your partner. Good partners will help you achieve your goals because they see your potential and they want to see you succeed. I do get the fear. I've been there. I basically started out by flipping the world the finger and refusing to be told what to do. I turned down my spot in college because I was scared to death of being forced into becoming something I didn't want to be. But in retrospect, they were just trying to offer me a chance to learn something. I don't regret my decision because I've ended up exactly where I want to be, but there were definitely some things I had to learn the hard way just because I didn't want to learn it their way. And apparently I'm a bit of a slow learner because it's taken 20 years for my brain to replace fuck you with thank you. Of course, this is not a sudden change. It's been a slow and steady transition from the one end of the scale to the other. And what often happens during slow transitions is that you don't notice the small changes that happen on the way. Then you suddenly find yourself at a point where you realize that everything has changed. And what I began noticing was how a lot of things about my job started to feel easier. When that happens, it's very easy to believe that it's only because you're getting better. You know how the system works. You have more experience. And that is part of it. But in my case, looking back, I think that slowly learning to trust that people usually want to help and usually are quite competent is the most important change. And when you start trusting people and allow them to help you, things really do get a lot easier. The reason I feel so strongly about this is because the dream or idea of independence makes life a lot harder for a lot of people than it needs to be. I know that there are so many incredible, talented people out there who work themselves to shreds because they think letting someone help them diminishes their achievements or taints their ideas. They think that taking offers from investors and publishers, or God forbid, sell what you've been making altogether, means that they're taking the easy way out. But the thing is that there is no easy way out. There's no such thing. Every single person I know who've gotten to the point where they have the choice of taking this so-called easy way out have worked like heroes for years and built something extraordinary. And to summarize what I've been talking about now, there's nothing easy about that. There's nothing easy about it, but it's one of the most incredible and fulfilling things you can do. Most entrepreneurs or business owners will have good years and bad years. I've certainly had my ups and downs during the past 20 years, and I've learned a lot, and I keep learning so much more every day. I've come to terms with the probability of this never becoming easy, but I love this industry. I love running a game studio, and I hope I can keep doing it for a very, very long time. I also hope everyone else gets to experience how wonderful it is. And I want to share some rules that I try to follow to make sure I don't break myself in the process. So I have 3 rules that I keep in mind, both with regards to my own health, but also with regards to how I treat other people. You don't have to do anything yourself, and there's no honor in burnout, and it's okay to ask for help. They may seem obvious, but you have no idea how often I have to remind myself of this. I've been used to doing everything myself for a long time, and it's really hard to change your brain wiring. And I have one truth. Success does feel better when you share it. So take the chance here at Konsoll to make some meaningful connections, and thank you for listening to my rant. I think we have time for questions, if there are any.
So, we have a microphone at the front here, so if anyone has any questions, would you like to take the mic? Yngvill has a wealth of experience that she can share with you, so if anyone is starting their own business and wants to ask any tips. I know it's a bit daunting to come down to the mic first.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm here with my students, and there are a lot of students here. I think they would love to know, how do you start? Like, what's your advice for starting as an independent indie?
Well, I think there are 2 ways to go. The one is you have a dream, just do it, because it doesn't matter if you try to figure out every problem beforehand, or if you experience them afterwards, because everything changes all the time. So it's just I feel like I know that there are a lot of people who feel scared because it feels like a huge thing to do, but you learn as you go, and I think just take the leap is one side of it. The other side is you can of course plan for some things. If you're an artist or a programmer, or you have one of these things that you know very well, I think it's smart to take some time and find a business person, someone who is good at business development and likes to do it. Because if you don't, it's gonna be you. It's gonna be you who are doing all of it. Great. Bye.